For several generations, the Canadian dream was centered around the idea of opportunity, a strong social safety net, and a peaceful multicultural society. It was about achieving a good quality of life, which meant owning a home, securing a stable job, and providing for one's family. The Canadian dream was heavily tied to the country's reputation for universal healthcare, high levels of education, and a strong economy, particularly in resource sectors like oil, mining, and forestry. There was a sense of optimism about Canada's global role as a peacekeeping nation and a welcoming place for immigrants. For many, the dream involved being able to work hard, contribute to society, and move up the economic ladder with a safety net in place to protect against hardship. There was also pride in Canada's natural beauty, vast landscapes, and clean, safe cities. The Canadian dream was built on security, prosperity, and the idea that anyone, regardless of their background, could find success in Canada's inclusive society. But now, the so-called Canadian dream has morphed into something unrecognizable. We live in a nation where the promise of prosperity and freedom feels like a cruel joke. The economy is in shambles, crippled by government overspending that has ballooned our debt to unsustainable levels. Mass immigration, while a cornerstone of our multicultural identity, has strained our resources, driving up housing prices and making it impossible for the younger generation to afford even the basics of life. Small businesses, the lifeblood of our communities, are being choked out by relentless government regulation and a climate agenda that seems more about virtue signaling than real solutions. Investment is drying up, and with it, the hope of economic revival. Meanwhile, free speech, once the bedrock of our democracy, is under siege. Censorship is creeping into every corner, from social media to the mainstream press, silencing dissent, crushing debate, and suffocating the very ideas needed to fix this mess. For adults today, this is a harsh reality. The dream of owning a home, raising a family, and retiring with dignity is slipping away. And what does this mean for future generations? Well, a bleak inheritance. A nation where opportunities are limited, freedoms are restricted, and the weight of today's excess falls squarely on their shoulders. The Canadian dream is on life support, and unless we take a hard look at the policies driving this decline, we risk leaving behind a legacy of despair instead of hope. Today's episode, we sit down with Sam Miele. He is the host of My Generation, a future leader of our country, and honestly, just a gem of a human being. We're going to discuss the state of affairs for his upcoming generation, and ultimately, if the Canadian dream can be revived. Sam, thanks for being here today.
Jonathan, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we have about 1 minute to break. So tell me, what is the biggest challenge facing your generation today?
You know, I was thinking about this when I was trying to figure out how to answer that, and I would argue attitude. I think no matter what's being thrown at us, at our generation, whether it's unaffordability, I mean, you just went off on all the issues within Canada, but one of the biggest struggles I have is the attitude our generation has around their own prosperity. The idea is that you have the opportunity to change the way that you look at your own life. Take advantage of it, 1% better every day. These are the kinds of mentalities that we need to have in order to get out of these hard times. Unfortunately, I don't think that's really built in us. And I think that's where some of the strongest people in my generation have the opportunity to excel. So I would argue confidence and attitude are probably the biggest issues that our generation faces more than any of the ones that you brought up.
Okay, so what would you do? How would you go about improving that situation?
Biggest thing would just be education, encouraging failure, encouraging mistakes.
I think encouraging failure.
If you can push our generation to look at it and say, we want to, motivate you to make mistakes, learn from them, and push forward. Oh my word, we would have a more confident society that is more innovative, not afraid to take risks, and drives productivity.
So what are you personally doing to improve your outlook on life and to sort of live the ideas that you're discussing?
Biggest thing for me would be I just love engaging in conversation. I'm also a very pragmatic thinker. Like I'll sit down with different individuals, hear from what they have to say, but then from there I'll kind of pick out what I agree with, what I don't agree with, but I'll always challenge my perspective. When I can challenge my perspective, then I kind of put myself in situations where I'm forced to learn, forced to critically think.
Right.
And that critical thinking habit that I build can be processed through the job that I work, the pressure I may face when having a family someday, and so many more. That level of confidence is something that our generation needs to have. And I think that's something that generations before us did have.
I'm inclined to agree with you. So you're in a very unique situation. You have your own show. You're in the public eye. How do you think this translates for the average person your age?
To be honest, I don't. Well, it's okay. I'll put it this way. Because of the internet age, our generation has raised some of the richest people in the world. I mean, there was a young kid, 23 years old, started a company around AI. Guy's a billionaire at 24, 25. It's incredible. As I think that's the biggest opportunity we have.
So you think that basically there are more opportunities for people to jump into this space.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll be right back.